Greetings, nerd and nerdettes, and how y'all doing on this lovely Saturday the 13th? Here in sunny Spring Ventura, it is I, your recovering OGGM. Got some more surgical bad news yesterday, so the break is continuing. There will be another surgery and possibly another surgery. So if you're feeling generous, please support me by clicking the links down below because it may be a while before I can return to work. Meanwhile, let us talk about what seems to be the topic du jour of the videos as of late, and that is people talking about the Matt Mercer effect. So, a little segue. There was a video that somebody posted where he was like, oh, players are coming to me and they're like, blah, 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 Mercer, blah, blah, critical role. What do I do? And Matt himself came forward and he was like, oh, God, I'm so sorry. This just sucks. I feel really, really bad that people are coming and laying this, toxic expectation on you. I never intended for this to happen. Every game is different. You can't run like me. Only I can run like me. And if players are all like, I want to be like this, then they better be able to step up because my players have all this experience and blah, 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 blah. And it is unfair for people to expect their game to be like my game. You should only run the best game you can run, which is what I've been saying for years. Ever since the very first person came up to me with this sort of toxic, hostile, your game better be just like Matt Mercer's, my game is going to be just like Matt Mercer's, what do I need to do to make my game just like Matt's? It's like, you cannot make your game like Matt Mercer's. Only Matt Mercer, Matt Colville, Nerdocracy, Persons, all these guys, game can be like them. Your game can only be your game. You can only run the best game you can run. You can steal ideas from them. You can aspire to be as good as them. You can aspire to be as a good as athlete as the athletes you see, or the actors you see, or the writers you see. They can be aspirations. They can be ideas. I want to drive my car as good as Danica. I want to play tennis as good as Serena. I want to play football as good as the Kirkpatrick. I want to play, chess as good as Bobby Fischer. And I want to DM as good as Matt Mercer. But you will never be Matt Mercer. And to have these expectations as a player or a GM is just unhealthy, and it just inevitably leads to letters like this guy. And thank God Matt responded. But there's been a lot of videos as of late where people are addressing the letter and addressing their views on what is the Matt Mercer effect and how it's been positive, how it's been negative, and their input. So I want to take a little different look on it with a more sort of like, what the fuck do you mean when you say, I want my game to be like X? Like the show I saw on YouTube. What does that actually mean? Does that mean you want to have a show on YouTube like these guys? Okay. Is that what you mean? Is that what the Matt Mercer critical role experience means to you? Is you want to do what these guys are doing? Well, okay. Well, that is a time and financial investment. You have to learn how to edit. You have to learn how to sell yourself. You have to learn how to film. You have to learn how to act. You have to learn how to advertise. You have to get a really good camera. Even the most basic amateur shows. I'm not talking the professional stuff like Mercer and Perkins and Colville with like the multiple screens and with like the decorated scenes. I'm talking the basic stuff. You got to get a really good camera and a really good setup and a really good editing software program, and you got to learn to edit, and that's a lot of work and a lot of time, and you got to find a group of consistent gamers who know how to bring it to the camera, because nobody wants to watch this. 15, and I get +7, So I think I had, yeah. No, your players have to be charismatic. Your players have to be professional. They have to be somebody that I want to be emotionally invested in, so I keep coming back to watch your show week after week after week. That's what a YouTube show is successful. Otherwise, you get 4 viewers like I do, because apparently I'm not doing what people want. Or you got to be controversial. If you're just bleh, your YouTube show isn't going to work. So is that what you mean when you say, I want my show to be like YouTube? Does I want my show to be like Acquisitions Incorporated or Colville or Nerdarchy or High Rollers mean you want to do silly voices and you want that level of narrative? Well, okay. But remember, a lot of these people are professional actors. They have invested a lot of time and effort in learning how to do those voices and learning how to act and learning how to tell a narrative story and learning how to not just be role players, but actually be professional actors, professional directors, professional storytellers, professional people who know how to work a camera, work the room, work an audience. They're not just schlubs like me and you. These are people who do this for a living, both on and off camera. So what you're watching is a finished product. They're not just making silly voices, because anybody can make a silly voice. A silly voice is easy. Watch. Hello, I am doing silly voice now. It is pretty easy to do silly voice. It does not take a lot of work to do silly voice. To do silly voice consistently and not sound like you are offending someone, though, that takes professional training. And the people on these shows who do the silly voices and to do them consistently and do them so they actually sound like somebody from the country, and to do it with the silliness voice that it sounds like you're really from the place that you're doing the voice of, and you're not just doing a silly accent that is somewhat offensive, that takes training. That takes work. That takes years of investment and financial investment in learning how to do that. So to say, oh, I want that narrative, I want that, that investment in my character, I want to do the voices and dress up and do that. That's fine if that's what you think that means. But that's also a lot of work. And remember, a lot of these people do this professionally outside of the game. So is that what that means? Is I want my thing to be like Critical Role means you want to have sponsorship like they do? Does that mean you want to have props like they do? Does that mean you want to be able to bring it like Sam does and have that intensity that they does? Well, okay, then bring it. That means that you have to show up. You have to put all your personal gossipy silliness, phone, real life stuff aside and invest in the game for the next 2 to 3 hours and bring it like Sam brings it. You have to think about the game, you have to plan, you have to plot, you have to understand the rules, you have to be ready for whatever the DM throws at you, you have to think 2-3 games ahead, you have to always be role-playing, you have to appreciate everybody else at the table and support everybody else at the table. And remember, it is a group effort, and sometimes you are not the star of the show. Sometimes Sue is going to be the star of the show, or Sam is going to be the star of the show, or Grog is going to be the star of the show, or sometimes the guy guest star is going to be the star of the show, and you have to support them even when you are not the center of attention, and not try and be a center of attention hogging tramp like some people, and build everybody at the table up. You cannot bring your ego and your expectations and your toxicity at the table. You have to be one cohesive group telling a cohesive story. Is that what that means to you? Is that what I want to be like Critical Role is? Or is it just, I want to have a fun time with my friends playing D&D or playing Star Wars, because that's what it should mean. It shouldn't mean anything else. The only expectation you should have about playing this hobby is not my game's going to be like Matt Mercer's, because the only person who could run a Matt Mercer game is Matt Mercer. Your only expectation should be when you sit down at the table with your group and your GM is, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to invest in the story. We're going to tell a good group story. We're going to work together to tell a group story of let's pretend. We're all going to invest in the game. Our only expectation is that we're playing this game. We're going to put real life on hold for a couple hours. Sure, we understand that real life has to occasionally interfere. So yes, if this rings and it's an emergency, fine. But otherwise, this needs to be put down. We have to realize that sometimes other people are the center of attention, and I need to let that other person have their few moments in the camera. We need to work together. We need to tell a cohesive story. We need to get along. We need to be polite. We need to play well with each other, and we need to learn to do this together and cohesively. That should be the only expectation we have. We should not set ourselves up that, oh, this has to be like what we saw on TV or it doesn't work, because that's just never gonna work. The only person that could run like Chris Perkins is Chris Perkins. The only person that could run like me is me. The only person that could run like Carrie Solomon is Carrie Solomon. The only person that could run like Matt Mercer is Matt Mercer. The only person that could run like you is you. It's okay to aspire to have ideas like them and steal their tricks and stuff like that and say, oh, that was a good idea. I'm going to steal that. And oh, I like the way he did that. And, I want to practice my, running so I can run faster, because Usain Bolt runs really, really fast. But the only person who can run like Usain Bolt is Usain Bolt, because the other person who is Usain Bolt is Usain Bolt. So the next time you say to yourself, I want to be like Mike, as in, Michael Jordan, not me. What does that mean to you? Because really, at the end of the day, the game is about fun. You should just be having fun. Everybody at the table should just be having fun with each other and playing the game and investing in the game and telling a story with each other. The Matt Mercer effect should be that we all came to this game to tell a cohesive, cooperative, fun story, and we're not trying to compete with each other. We're not trying to compete with another game. We're not trying to compete with something we saw on YouTube. We're not trying to compete with Matt Mercer. We're just trying to play whatever game we're playing really, really well. That's all it should mean. Thank you. And if you appreciate what I'm trying to say and want to be part of what I'm trying to say, please subscribe to this video if you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, so we can hit 200 viewers by August 4th. And please, if you're feeling generous, support me through one of the links down below. Remember, I am been unemployed now for 3 weeks and will probably be unemployed for some time to come because of this surgery. So any way you're feeling generous, I'd appreciate it. But no matter what, remember, the only person who can be you is you. And if he can't be you, be Batman.